So that's it, huh? We're resorting to this now. Alright, Kaguya-sama Love is War, the official doujin, is a spin-off to Kaguya-sama Love is War by Aka Akazaka, my favorite manga ever. This series was brought to us by Shinta Sakayama, and it ran in Tonari no Young Jump from 2018 to 2020. You're saying, hold up, Gear, why are you reviewing a doujin? This is kind of weird. I knew that this series existed for a while, because it was, quite popular for a doujin. But it was only recently that I found out, not only has it all finished up, but it's actually not a doujin. Like I said, this is just a spin-off called a doujin. Mainly because, it's degenerate. For those who don't know, in Japan, a doujin is essentially a self-published fan fiction. Usually in the form of erotic manga. So, yeah, okay. So Kaguya-sama Love is War, of course, the love story between Kaguya Shinomiya and Miyuki Shirogane, the vice president and president of the Shuchin Academy Student Council. Of course, they're both in love with each other. They have too much pride to admit it, so they play all these mind games with each other, trying to get the other to confess. They're joined by the rest of the student council in their funny shenanigans. You got, their secretary Chika, who's always a hoot, their treasurer Ishigami, and the auditor Miko. So this spin-off takes place wherever the fuck it wants to in the story. This is essentially a collection of episodic short stories, some, only being a chapter long, some spanning multiple chapters. The series starts off with, a classic Kaguya setup, although quite a bit more degenerate than Akasaka is, used to, where we see Chika walking into the student council to see Ishigami and Shirogane. Problem is that her ass is hanging out, and the guys don't know how to tell her. And the start of this series is pretty much that. It's just, the poor man's Kaguya-sama with far more sexually explicit jokes than they usually tell. This is not a hentai, however. It is still, very much, they wouldn't seal it in a bookstore. But, it's quite, like I keep saying, degenerate. I did not really enjoy this aspect of the series. It really did feel like they were just grasping at straws, pulling, these scenarios out of their asses to, funny, these characters are naked, aha. It's the type of stuff I would expect from a lesser romantic comedy series, not Kaguya-sama. It's obvious why this exists. It's just fan service for people who, want to see these characters in more risque scenarios. But yeah, it's just kind of whatever. Although I have to admit there were a few times that these parts of the series did make me chuckle a little bit, okay? There's one scene, probably the most degenerate chapter in this whole series, is when you have Shirogane's sister. She's like 13 or something. It was really nasty. She left her underwear in the bathroom or something, and then her brother walks in on her. So she's just there naked on the ground, and her brother has to find her panties for her because she's so embarrassed. But it did lead to probably the most I laughed during this entire series, and that was when their father, who is one of my favorite characters in all of manga, comes home and he can just hear inside all this degeneracy they're spouting. He lights up a cigarette and he wonders where he went wrong as a father. There are glimpses of that type of stuff in this series that remind me of actual Kaguya-sama, and I'm like, oh, that's good. Man, I should just go back and reread the actual series because it's so much better than this. However, things get a bit weird, and it kind of caught me off guard. Because while the first few chapters of this series are very ecchi, it slowly, drops that entirely. And pretty much all of the content after a certain point is wholesome. We get chapters spanning the whole length of the series. It's definitely not something you want to read without being caught up to the manga. But we check in on all of the characters, the student council members, all of their friends, and we just get to see bonus chapters of stuff they get up to. And while it's nowhere near as good as the original series, you can tell that this mangaka is a pretty big fan of it. And I think some of the things he does here are pretty interesting. And I think he captures the spirit of the characters well for the most part. But then there's a shitload of other chapters I have not really talked about. At the start when I said they decide to put these characters wherever the fuck they want, multiple times throughout the series they decide to say fuck it and go in the fantasy direction. we stick characters in fairy tales. Why not? We have Red Riding Hood, where Chika is Red Riding Hood, Shinomiya is the grandmother, Shirogane is the wolf. You have several fairy tales starring Maki, who is one of my favorite characters, and honestly these were some of my favorite chapters in the series, where in one she is Cinderella, in the other she is the Little Mermaid, and the plots are much like in the main series revolve around her being cucked by Kashiwagi, which was always fun to see. I really like those chapters. Then there's like a few that span multiple chapters they're very odd. You have Kaguya and Chika running a bar, and Ishigami comes in, and he's talking about his crush on Tsubame, but they're all adults. There's one where everything is the exact same, except Shuchin is an all-girl school, and all of the characters are girls, but literally nothing else changed, like Kaguya and Shirogane is still in love with each other. And then you have probably the weirdest one. I don't even know how this idea materialized, but you have Shirogane and Hayasaka, Kaguya's maid, are both adults and both kindergarten teachers, and all the students in their kindergarten class are the rest of the characters from the series. So you have this oddly wholesome and thoughtful romance story between Hayasaka and Shirogane. What the fuck? It's so odd and so completely against everything we know about the series, but it was kind of hard to hate it just because of, like I said, how wholesome it was. This is so fucking dumb, but give me more. Anyway, the series ends on a pretty wholesome note. It is just all the characters like, hey, we're so happy we're all friends, love you guys, and that's it. So yeah, not really a traditional series to review in the normal sense, because obviously being an episodic spin-off that completely requires you to have knowledge of the main series, I can't really talk much about the story or characters. But I would like to mention the art for a bit. This Sakayama guy, he's pretty decent. It was a bit jarring at first because while he tries his best to imitate the Kaguya art style, it really felt off in the beginning chapters, and all the gross degeneracy didn't really help, but I think as the series goes on, he evolves quite a bit, and by the end, while his art style was still different from Akasaka's, I did really appreciate it. I thought he captured all the characters quite well. So the question is, if you're a Kaguya fan, do you want to read this? Well, honestly, I don't think it would hurt. Yeah, the ecchi chapters are kind of, but I think most of the content here is perfectly fine, wholesome fan service for Kaguya fans. You're not going to get anything near as good as the main series, but if you are all caught up and you're craving more, this is a very quick read. Honestly, you might as well. I don't think I gained much from reading it, but I'm not completely upset that I checked it out. I was gonna go 5 out of 10 because of how indifferent I am on it, but there's a Splatoon reference, so there you go. Have you read the Kaguya Dojin? What were your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments down below. Oh, that was I don't even know why I reviewed this, man. Am I that starved for content? I could have done literally anything. I could have made a review of the new One Piece chapter, and people would probably be more content. But this is my channel. Fuck you. We're at 6,000 subscribers soon. We're gonna do something for that. Look forward to a new video in a few days. And I'm not reviewing any more Dojins. Don't even. I'm not reviewing Tails Gets Trolled either. Fuck off.
Listen to me. I am not your little pod champ. I'm not anyone's little pod champ. I'm not changing for anything or anyone. Even if it is any girl, I am not your little pod champ. Then I will never be. I am Sonic the Hedgehog. Goodbye, nerd.